Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we talk about the two topics that farmers and ranchers always talk about. That's the weather and markets. Ryan Martin from Louis Dreyfus Company will join us, and we'll ask about this continuing ride in the commodity markets and what kind of weather we can expect as planting season now just about gets into full swing. We'll also have features from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, plus our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion, a division of Keiko ISO.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919. KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
In Ag News from agview.net, for the fifth straight month, the Creighton University Rural Main Street Index climbed above growth neutral. That according to the monthly survey of bank CEOs in a rural area of a 10-state region that is dependent on agriculture and or energy. The overall index for April slipped to a still healthy 69 from a record high 71.9 in March. The index ranges between 0 and 100, with a reading of 50 representing growth neutral. Approximately 37.9% of bank CEOs reported that their local economy expanded between March and April. Dr. Ernie Goss of Creighton University says strong growth in grain prices and the Federal Reserve's record low interest rates, along with growing exports, have underpinned the rural Main Street economy, even though, he said, current rural economic activity does remain below pre-pandemic levels. Well, fully 100% of bank CEOs that were surveyed indicate that export markets are very important or somewhat important to the local economy. And for the seventh straight month, the Farmland Price Index advanced above growth neutral. The April reading climbed to 78.6. That's the highest level since 2012, and this is the first time since 2013 that the Creighton survey has recorded 7 straight months of farmland prices above growth neutral. Bankers also reported that approximately 9.1% of farmland sales over the last 6 months have gone to non-farmer investors. Well, Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack says that USDA is now only days away from announcing greater opportunities for landowners to take fragile farmland out of production in exchange for a payment. This article recently said the Biden administration is looking for ways to halt a 13-year decline in the number of sign-ups under the Conservation Reserve Program. That is the largest land set-aside program in the country. Vilsack said that the CRP could play a role in President Biden's plan to make American agriculture the first in the world to get to net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Now, approximately 20.8 million acres are enrolled in the Conservation Reserve Program, with contracts on 3 million acres set to expire at the end of September. While the 2018 Farm Bill calls for gradually raising the enrollment cap to 27 million acres, it lowered the annual rental rate to landowners to pay for those extra acres. Now, some senators had said last fall that USDA was being a bit stingy with those incentives and bonuses that it had previously offered to encourage producers to participate. You can find more ag news at agview.net. We'll have more in a moment.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
And joining us now is Ryan Martin, who is with Louis Dreyfus Company. He's a soybean buyer, and also you hear him all over the state talking markets as well as weather. So, Ryan, been a while. Welcome back.
Good to be here, Ken. I hope things are going well for you and yours and everybody over the region.
Well, a couple things we want to talk to you, and the reason why I like talking with you is not only are you immersed in the markets, but you bring a little different look because you look at it weather-wise. And as we go about our conversation, I want to talk more about that as you see kind of this growing season play out. But let's maybe first let's kind of tackle these markets from a higher point where we've been all over the place since the first of the year. The pandemic's opening up much, and with the economy going strong, so have the commodity markets.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all been predicated on supply and demand. And this goes all the way back to last fall when we finally started seeing China come to the table making purchases of products. Since then, we've seen weather play a big role in South America. Did it or didn't it? It depends on who you ask, really impact the soybean production down there. We know it's impacting corn production right now because of superb dryness in the southern part of Brazil's growing area. So that's the second crop corn area. And we know Argentina got whacked hard. So that's the supply side. And then on the demand side, China continues to buy. Now, all of a sudden, we've got tight balance sheets here. And there's a lot of hand wrangling as to whether or not we've reached the tightest level yet. And it depends on whether you believe what USDA is printing as a reasonable number or if it's actually below what we have seen happen over the past few weeks, Ken. Interior basis levels tell us there's not much crop left here.
Well, that's what it seems like. We continue to hear folks taking phone calls and normally don't get calls from originators looking for grain. One thing we do know here in Kansas is the sorghum market is still extremely hot. That is one that looks like is going to play out well into next year after this year's crop is harvested.
Yeah, and it's for two reasons. First of all, sorghum excitement has already started to build again in China. They've been working on getting some more milo purchases, sorghum purchases. But also remember, if we're talking tight crop on corn, there's some play back and forth between switching out for sorghum on feed versus corn. Will we see more sorghum go into these ethanol grinds? So there's all that at work as well. And it really sets the stage for, I think, a very nice potential marketing story for sorghum, not just here for the old crop, but maybe even going into some of these new crop plantings.
Quickly, let's talk about what we see in the acreage shift. We talk about it every year. It always seems to kind of go back into order, but looking at maybe more soybeans.
Well, and it's not anything to do with price. You know, if you look at, and these are markets that I'm looking at right here, if you look at these numbers is where we finished out the week and what the soybeans and the corn did, both of them have gone up substantially. I don't think you can make an argument corn versus beans except on the crop input side, Ken, and that has been the story. Fertilizer, way up. Chemicals now, outside of fertilizer, whether it's your herbicides, pesticides, way up. And if you had not gotten those numbers locked in before on corn, those are the guys that are thinking maybe about switching to beans. Now, is it enough to make a big shift in our overall acreage numbers for the country? That remains to be seen. But Ken, that's where the shifts are going to come from.
Ryan Martin from Louis Dreyfus Company is joining us. We're going to take a break, come back, and get his outlook on what could happen this rest of this year for weather. We'll do that in just a moment.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
And our guest this week is Ryan Martin from Louis Dreyfus Company. We talked about these markets, but also, Ryan, you're a meteorologist. And so talk about, everybody's anticipating. It seems like that is probably the second highest topic is when is all this planning going to take place? We know in the Southeast, it's been well underway for a while.
but we want good moisture, but we also want to be able to put these spring crops in pretty smooth.
Well, and really here, you've got to divide this weather story out geographically and regionally. So let's start close to home here. We just got done with a week here that has been, you know what, the phrase that was talked to me about all week long was, "Are you flipping kidding me?" And, substitute whatever word you want to put in there. But the idea was, cold and snow, Mother Nature did not want to give it up this week. Now here, we're going to bounce pretty quick. I think next week we're going to be looking at very warm temperatures here overall, and going forward, we're probably going to be coming out okay. Slow probably to start here on planting, but I think we ramp these numbers up pretty quickly as the USDA report comes out on Monday for the crop progress and subsequent Mondays. Go north into the northern plains. Yes, they had cold last week and honestly the week prior, but they're dry. North Dakota has not had meaningful precipitation over 1 inch in a very long time, pushing 3 months now. So North Dakota, South Dakota, northern Minnesota, I think once those soil temperatures get to where they need to be, they're going to accelerate quickly. We could see the fastest progress up there. Those guys have big equipment and no moisture concerns. Now let's go to the Corn Belt, and I'm going to just lump them all together. Iowa, Mississippi River, eastward. I think here we're looking at dryness as well. Not maybe much of a hiccup in terms of planting, but these soil temperatures have gotten some of this early crop. Remember, our initial crop progress report had Illinois 5% done the very first week we could talk about corn, with temperatures last week or this past week, 25, 26 degrees. How's that corn doing here as we wake up into next week? I think there's going to be some replant already talked about in the Corn Belt.
Over the winter time, there was a lot of discussion talking about La Nina. Hasn't been much recently. Where are we at there?
Well, it's fading. I mean, I think we're still seeing the long tail effect. Most in the meteorological world, especially the Australian Bureau of Meteorology, have basically stamped this thing and said, done. We're going to see the long tail effect, and you're going to see this in South America. Will it do anything up here? Short of maybe a little bit of dryness developing midsummer in Texas, and then maybe a little bit of dryness out in California. I don't think La Nina is a story for anything here. What's going to be interesting is when are these talking head weather guys going to pivot and start saying El Nino, El Nino, El Nino? That's going to be key, because I don't look for an actual phenomenon to happen this year. I think we sit neutral basically for the rest of the year and don't see any kind of tropical or Pacific waters influence on our weather. We'll see, but I think it'll be interesting to see what the next headline is going to be that dominates this market on the weather side.
All right, Ryan, we appreciate the updates, and hopefully we can catch up with you later on in the growing season.
That sounds like a good plan to me.
Ryan Martin, Louis Dreyfus Company, has joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Hi, I'm Sharon Thielen, Director of Education for Kansas Corn, and this is your Kansas Corn Update. This spring, we've been very busy in our Kansas Corn STEM office, sending out free materials to Kansas teachers as they prepare to teach their STEM lessons in the classroom. Two programs we've been very busy doing is our library series. We've been sending out free materials to public libraries in the state where they can use our We Grow Corn book and provide 6 different lessons for kids that come to their library to learn about corn. Also, a bigger project that we're working on is our Seed to STEM program. These are 2 workshops that are going to be held in June, one in Hayes and one in Chanute, where middle school and high school science teachers will come together, practice 10 different labs, visit an ethanol plant, visit a farm, and we'll walk away with a bunch of free supplies. But all of these opportunities are great for Kansas teachers, librarians, and the community who want to learn about corn. To learn more, please visit kansascornstem.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
The Wheat Foods Council is answering common consumer questions about wheat in a new series of short videos featuring wheat expert Dr. Brett Carver. Carver is the Wheat Genetics Chair in Agriculture at Oklahoma State University. During the video series, he will discuss how wheat has changed over the last 100 years, the difference between wheat breeding and GMOs, gut health, and more. The first episode, which is now available on YouTube, answers the question, if you stop eating bread to cut carbs, what else do you lose? The primary source of protein in the wheat kernel comes from the endosperm, the middle layer. The endosperm also contains carbohydrates and small amounts of B vitamins. When ground during the milling process, the endosperm yields what we recognize as flour, the fine white powder added into our baking recipes. As a result, this protein benefit comes in both enriched and whole wheat products. Whole wheat products are made using the entire kernel of wheat, not just the endosperm. The bran, which is the outer layer, contains the most fiber. With this added fiber, having whole wheat products in the diet protects against diabetes, helps prevent coronary heart disease, and improves gut health. Stay tuned for answers to more consumer questions through the Wheat Foods Council, a leading source of science-based information on wheat and grain foods nutrition. Kansas Wheat is a member, along with grain producers, millers, baking suppliers, life science companies, and cereal manufacturers.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Bruce Thomas and his two brothers, Alan and Art, formed Thomas Brothers Farms, LLC in 2007 and are the fifth generation to farm in the family. Their row crop operation includes 2,400 acres of corn and soybeans. Bruce and Jennifer's two sons, Caden and Tyler, also raise 4-H animals on the farm. Bruce serves on the Shawnee County Farm Bureau Board of Directors and provides leadership on multiple committees. On the state level, he has been a member of KFB's Wheat Advisory Committee and the Feed Grains Advisory Committee. The Thomas family believes the future of agriculture is bright and are excited to see the younger generation showing great enthusiasm for future involvement in the industry.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Kansas producers have new funding opportunities to help address woody plant encroachment on targeted rangelands through the Natural Resources Conservation Service Kansas Great Plains Grassland Initiative. The program focuses on early prevention strategies and makes producers in targeted rangelands eligible to receive Environmental Quality Incentives Program funding to help control woody plants. Core grasslands include areas within the Flint Hills, Gypsum Hills, and Smoky Hills regions of Kansas. Woody plant encroachment puts pressure on working rangelands by decreasing livestock production and increasing wildfire risk, as well as harming grassland biodiversity and increasing threat to animal species living in this biome. Treatment strategies for the invasive plants will rely on an integrated pest management conservation system to control encroachment on identified planned land units within the core grassland areas. The application deadline is July 2nd. Once submitted, applications will be assessed and ranked as soon as the applicant has made conservation treatment decisions. The ranking system is designed to prioritize funds for landscapes with less than 10% coverage of woody plant species. Based on fund availability, applications with a ranking score of 30 points or greater will be pre-approved, allowing for immediate enrollment into an EQIP contract. Those with scores less than 30 points will be financed in ranking order as funding allows. For more information or to acquire an application, contact your local Natural Resources Conservation Service office.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Mitch Dewar here with Pinion, a division of Keiko ISO. Soybeans and corn pushed both their old and new crop contracts to new highs this past week, and wheat rallied along as well. Corn bulls are looking towards the hot and dry weather in Brazil as their second crop moves into pollination. Things here domestically aren't off to a great start, as a good portion of the Midwest saw a snowstorm this week with low temperatures, which kept the planters in the shed. The old crop May futures closed over $6 for the first time since 2013. With new crop corn surging to new highs as well, soybean bulls have been trying to buy more acres and push the November futures contract through the $13 mark midweek. Wheat has been on quite the run here since the first week of April, when the market had fallen to 5-month lows. Wheat has followed the corn market up as wheat is making its way into the livestock feed throughout the world. We continue to see attractive prices in the grains, and we haven't reached the seasonal time period when the trade typically starts to trade a domestic weather scare. Over in the livestock market, things have been a little shaky the past couple weeks. June lean hogs futures contract reached a high of 110 and have fallen back on fears of being overbought. In both live and feeder cattle, we have seen a huge sell-off since reaching new highs in the deferred contracts. Boxed beef has seen great demand, which has pushed its price to record levels for the month of April. In the cash cattle area, we have watched trade slowly creep higher, but has become stagnant again due to the large future sell-off. We are among exciting times here in the grain sector with a lot to talk about in regards to marketing. To help navigate the volatility of these markets, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Mitch Dewar with Pinion, a division of Keiko ISO.
That's our show this week. Be social with us at kansasagreport.net or our social media channels. Will all these April showers bring May flowers? Well, we'll only have to wait a few more days and we'll find out. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety. That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.